So on number 35, it says list all the equations of asymptotes of the function, then graph it. So there are a few different types of asymptotes. It wants all of them. So the first one we will find is the vertical asymptote. And to find the vertical asymptote, you set the bottom equal to 0. It's basically like finding the domain. It's that value that gives you 0 in the denominator. So let's find out what the bottom, set the bottom equal to 0 for part A would be. Add the 4 over, take a square root, plus or minus 2. So when x equals 2 and when x equals -2, you'll get a 0 in the denominator. Those are restrictions in the domain. These are vertical asymptotes. So you've got 2 vertical asymptotes for this question. So there's 2 answers. Now we're going to look for a horizontal asymptote, and what to do for that is you check the degree of the top versus the degree of the bottom. So for this question, it was 3 over x squared minus 4. So look at the highest power you can find. The highest power at the bottom here, the degree of the bottom is 2. The degree of the top is actually 0. There's like an x to the 0 power here. Anything to the 0 power is 1. So technically the degree here at the top. Now, when the degree of the bottom is bigger, you automatically get y equals 0 as your horizontal asymptote. That's just the rule. When the bottom's bigger, it's y equals 0. If it happened to be the top bigger, then it's none. If it's bigger by just 1, then it's oblique. But if it's more than 1, it's I think we'll find one here in a second. Yeah, when we do part C, we'll find that. Okay. But for instance, if you had a question where the function given to you was x to the 4th over x plus 2, the degree of the top would be 4, the degree of the bottom would be 1. The top is bigger than the bottom by more than 1, so there's none. There's not a horizontal asymptote. And whenever they're equal, say you're given a function where it's x to the 4th over 3x to the 4th plus 2. When the degrees are equal, 4 and 4, you take the coefficients and say y equals 1 over 3. You take the front coefficients and say y equals 1/3. That would be your horizontal asymptote for that. Okay. Now if it's only bigger by 1, like you go back to this scenario, if it's bigger than the top, but it's only bigger by 1, say it was say the top's bigger than 1, there is still no horizontal asymptote, but there's an oblique asymptote. I can't remember a B. Some people call it a slant asymptote. Okay, so you got to watch out about that. But for this question, it's y equals 0. Okay, part B. We'll check this one out. All right, so let's find the vertical asymptote first. You set the bottom equal to 0. Add 9 to both sides, take a square root. X equals plus or minus 3. So there's my vertical asymptotes. The horizontal, the degree of the top is 1. Oh, by the way, you have to double check to make sure. If you take a 3 and plug it in the top, make sure that doesn't come up to 0. So if I put a 3 in, 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times a -3 is -6. You're looking to make sure that that's not a 0. Right? If you plug a value in up here and you get 0 on the top, then technically that's not an asymptote. That is a hole in the graph. You don't call them an asymptote. All right, so you got to double check. Make sure the top doesn't equal out to 0. These values don't give you 0, okay? If it does, then you don't have an asymptote. You have a hole in the graph. Just a friendly tip from your neighborhood math instructor. Where am I at? Oh, the other asymptotes. Degree of the top is 1. Degree of the bottom is 2. Degree of the bottom is bigger. So automatically y equals 0 is your horizontal asymptote. That's it. That's all the asymptotes you can find. Part C. 6x cubed over x squared minus 4. Set the bottom equal to 0. Let's find our verticals first. Move the 4 over. Take a square root. X equals plus minus 2. So x equals 2. X equals negative 2 are your vertical asymptotes. What about the horizontal? Well, the top is bigger than the bottom. So there's no horizontal asymptote. But the degree of the top is bigger by 1. So that means there is a oblique or slant asymptote. So what we're going to do here is find the oblique asymptote. So it would be, we're going to divide this in. So x squared minus 4 divides into 6x cubed. Right, this divided by this is how that works. Oh boy. So x squared minus 4 goes in. So what would you multiply x squared by to get 6x cubed? 6x. So you subtract those away. It'd be like a plus 0x here. So 0 minus negative would be 24x. How do you turn a x squared into a 24x? You don't. You can't. So that's my remainder. So your oblique asymptote would be y equals 6x. There's all my asymptotes there for part C. And for part D, here's my asymptotes for part D. Well, I don't like it saying 4 minus x. I'm going to rewrite that as negative x plus 4. Hopefully you're all right with that. Now the vertical would be 4. X equals 4. That's my vertical asymptote. Horizontal, well, the degree of the top is 1 and the bottom is 1. So they're the same. So automatically you say y equals, you take the coefficients, 1 over negative 1, which is negative 1. So y equals negative 1 is your horizontal asymptote. Now this question does say graph the function. So I'm going to stop here and I'll start another video where we actually graph them.